It was after attending Cross Camp. I was invited to attend that event, which was in a very special place, and also with a lot of very special people, which I think I was very impressed by. But the main takeout for me was I think the synergy between the values that you, at least at the beginning, were talking about, i.e. the spirit of what not just the camp but the alternative university was ultimately going to be, and how similar they were to the values of our company, which, even though we are articulating differently, still ultimately come down to the same thing. Challenging as well, openness. I think you've got friendship and trust as part of that as well, which is pretty unique as well. I mean, it's a nice expression. Trust is very important, and I think friendship is nice to put on the top of it. It's a word that's often avoided in company values. We can't be friends. We have to work together. We have to be colleagues. But at the end, of course, it's friends. That's where you make your friends. You make your friends by spending time with people. When graduates come and make applications, I think the primary thing we're looking for is attitude. And we accept that there is a mismatch to some extent between traditional education and a qualification that says, I've got a qualification in economics. I mean, it doesn't make anybody an expert economist. It's not about a piece of paper, really. It's about an attitude, and it's also about flexibility. Those are the two main things that I think that anybody could hope for as an employer, is that somebody's, got a good attitude and got, willingness to work hard, but more importantly is flexible with that too, and adaptable, because more and more that will become a requirement, not just in Romania, I think, internationally. Don't get a job and say, right, I'm a finance person, because you'll never be a finance person. You have to be more than a finance person to do well in a job, and certainly to succeed. You have to learn the business, and that means everything across the business. Well, I mean, I don't know about, Romanian education, let's say, versus English education or French education. I mean, the baccalaureate system, to me, I think is a better system than the English system, which is, much more specific around certain subjects, for example. I always think it's better to do, certainly when you're younger, more. But if there's a gap, it's the same gap that probably can exist in organizations between those at the very top of an organization and the people that work in them. You create this ivory tower. And I think there's a danger with traditional education, if I use that point anywhere in the world, that it becomes too insular. It's too theoretical. There's a lot of value in the theory. It's a bit like when you're, continuously learning through your job. You'll read a book because it's a new book and it's got a particular message, which might be interesting to you to understand a bit more. But the book in itself is of no value. You try, you learn, you try again, you learn some more, and you apply again. So it's kind of learning by doing, to use an older adage, but it's a very real one. I think, but you have to have the attitude to learn that what I'm going to do is probably not right, but I haven't got a better idea today, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then you learn a bit more. People are hungry to learn, and that's why it's dangerous, because they're hungry to learn. So if you're learning the wrong thing in the wrong way, there's a big danger that you might become irrelevant. So I think that keeping an open mind, so I think trying to hang on to your own energy levels, your own confidence levels, and then do things the way you think they should be done, the right thing, not just the way that everybody else says it. And I don't think, you shouldn't let people take confidence away from you. I think that's the worst thing that any adult, senior manager, governmental person, and you can't take confidence away from people. Otherwise you kind of destroy the ability to grow. But you're hungry to learn all the time, and I think that's an innate passion. It's not something you said, I'm hungry to learn all the time. No, I just am, and I find things to be very curious, and I think if you can promote curiosity, then the rest will kind of follow, because there's a genuine feeling. I mean, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I'm not a marine biologist, and I wanted to work as in Africa as a game part. Now I had some experience there, which was fantastic. I spent a couple of years doing just that, and then thought, well, I better go and get a degree. I'm curious. I'm just genuinely curious. I do get involved, I think even in the job I do today, for example, in various levels of the organization. And I will listen, and sometimes people get a little bit freaked out by the fact that the GM's walking into an office and, hey, what's going on and why. But I think the more you do that, the more people relax. And I think the important thing at the beginning is not that people are so different, they're not so different, but it's just how do you learn, if you like, how they communicate. And I think it takes a little bit of time to get to that level, and the only way you can do it is by hopefully meeting people and then spending time with them so that they can get to the point where actually they're telling you the truth. And I remember going into my office on the first day and, you know, writing down on a piece of paper, and my desk faced the door, and above the door I put this piece of paper, and I'd just written on it, "You're not as clever as you think you are." So I could look at it, because you'd have to be very careful when people are, I think sometimes, overinflating you. You get carried away with that. I mean, it's a very seductive thing. It's a very seductive thing. So on the one hand, I think it's about trying to keep your feet on the ground, because there's no surer way to fail than building your pride up to such a point that you've got to start something new. I mean, for sure, if you really, really are convinced, you know, you are the gift, for sure you're going to fail at some point, because you will project to everybody else, you don't know anything better than I do. And immediately they'll stop talking to you. And the reality is the other way around. The organization that knows more than you do, you've just got to try and get it out of them. You have to ask people, what do you think? Yes, at some point somebody has to make a decision, and without making a decision, you go nowhere. So I'll make the call, because part of my job is to decide, you know, okay, we've got everything, it's 50-50. Make a call, because we don't know, okay, we go this way. Because if it's 50-50, there's half a chance I'll be right, there's half a chance I'll be wrong, but let's find out. And I think that's important. So you go not with the purpose of just doing it because you said you were going to do it. You go with the purpose of learning, is this the right thing to do? And if it's not, you can retract and say, okay, let's try the other one, because this didn't work. And having the self-confidence probably to say, no, actually that was a bad decision. You know, I made a bad decision, but it's okay. Now we learn it's a bad decision, we're all clear. Let's not do this, we go there, but now let's try this one. And I think you learn that all the time. You're constantly learning. I think it's a rare thing. I've seen examples in completely different areas in Romania where people are really taking charge, taking responsibility themselves. Because yeah, these are tough times, I think, and that's the only way forward. I think, you know, if you want to do something, well, then you have to do it. You really have to do it, you know. And if it doesn't work, you have to say, okay, it didn't work, but at least I tried. There's nothing worse than getting through life and thinking, no, I never tried. I promise you, I'm not going to die like that. I'm going to try whatever I can, and then we'll see.